or because George W. Bush lied to his people and to the world and claimed that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction?
Everybody knows he had weapons and he used them against his own
Then when
people.
it was discovered,
the question is,
if I just complete the sentence, when it was discovered that there was no weapons of mass destruction to be discovered, the whole rhetoric of democracy and civil liberties came to the fore.
All right, can we go back to the questioner? Were you satisfied with the answers that you received? Please.
I'm not saying that what Saddam Hussein is doing is right. It's far from right. It's very wrong. But when George W. Bush did not find any weapons of mass destruction, he has gone in and introduced the media hype all about democracy. It is not about democracy. Some mistakes cannot be forgiven.
go tell it to 8.5 million Iraqis who voted in a democracy that they never thought they would have under Saddam. Go tell it to the 8.5 million people. The Iraqis tell you that we support finishing off Saddam Hussein. We're willing to take the coast. And we sitting here think, no, the Iraqis shouldn't accept it.
You, sir.
If this war is intrinsically wrong, and I'm not talking about the motives or intentions.
Your question is to this side.
Yes, I'm asking our friends who are opposed to this resolution. Then, if this war were intrinsically wrong, then what other way would there be to have ended probably the bloodiest regime in the world since the end of World War II or the Cambodian dictatorship?
Azzam Tamimi, would you like to?
Well, I disagree with you that he was the bloodiest ruler on the face of the earth. There are some Arab rulers who are as bad, if not worse than him.
Are you saying, my friend, that this is supposed to be now the legal status for dealing with autocratic regimes and tyrannies around the world? There must be more than a few around. Are you saying that because there are these tyrannical regimes, that it gives the United States in particular, and George Bush, some kind of legal authority to go in and then overthrow these governments? What kind of law of the jungle are we then advocating?
Okay, can he answer that? Can we get a microphone back to him, please? Perhaps you better hang on to it for a little while.
Yes, my answer is precisely that in 1991, we, the United States, did betray the Iraqi people. And that's a debt that has hung over the United States and could have been answered in 92 or 93 with continuous violations by the Iraqi regime of the ceasefire agreement. And on that basis, and not weapons of mass destruction, which never particularly interested me, but the fact that 80% of the Iraqi people were having their blood leached by this regime, and we betrayed them in 91, that's why I think this particular situation is different. Just as, it would be a similar case in World War II.
Lady at the back of the hall.
I wanted to know if they really genuinely wanted to eradicate totalitarian governments and terrorism, shouldn't they have sent an army who was educated, who would portray a positive image of the United States to the Middle East and to Iraq? Well, the images that we received from the prisoners of war who were tortured with such an inhumane way, we couldn't even, some pictures we couldn't even look at. Where's the human rights?
Fouad, Ajami, do you want to answer that?
I'm glad you asked this question. I think there is a very straight answer to it. And again, let me repeat. I've been in Iraq 3 times. I've stayed with the American military. I've traveled with them. I've lived with them. I've shared their food. I've shared their thoughts about this. You will be amazed. These are the most decent young people that you will have. Were there terrible abuses at Abu Ghraib? Of course. These people are being tried. They are rogue soldiers who acted outside the law, and they will be punished, and they are being punished. It's not like America is infallible, that there is some infallibility to the American practice. But if you go all around Iraq and you talk to Iraqi children about the bond they have with the American soldiers, about the regard that the American military has for the life and the property and the dignity of Iraqis, you'll be amazed. These soldiers at Abu Ghraib, the reservists who tormented these people, they were shameful. And everyone in our government has repudiated them.
Question, please, for this side of the House. Gentleman up there.
Maybe you can tell us a bit about the actual reformers in the Arab world. Who are these people and what do they want? Thank you.
Can I say something about reform in the Arab world? Yes. As we speak here, some of us have been at this conference going on in Doha on democracy and free trade. This conference is the 5th annual conference. So it started long before George Bush invented democracy for the Middle East. So there are indigenous forces at play here, and we need to nurture these forces, and we need to support them. But we do not go in all guns blazing with tanks and aircraft and battleships in order to impose some kind of democracy. It's something homegrown, and this is something we ought to be developing and looking at. And there are examples all over the Arab world, and I gave just one example of what is happening here in Qatar.
Salameh, Nematt.
Well, I'd like to just clarify a point. I've never, I don't advocate the use of military power to introduce democracy at the point of a gun. But I do at least expect from the United States to put its money where its mouth is. I would expect it to start isolating and exposing these dictatorships and stop cooperating with them. I feel that the US president should, since he confessed that they made a mistake, the United States made a mistake in the past 50, 60 years backing these dictatorships, I'd expect them to start